Beautiful. Hello, hello, and we are live. Hi, health warriors, and welcome to our weekly speaker series. Oh my goodness, I've actually missed this. We haven't been doing this for 2 weeks because of our special Secret Sauce 5-day challenge that we had last week. And the week after, we had enrollment into our premium 90-day program. So that was really exciting, and congratulations to everyone who enrolled and who are starting their best health journey today, actually, because guess what, it's 1st of March. I can't believe it. It's crazy. So today we have with us an amazing lady, Debbie, who is a life coach, and she's got a fantastic topic to share with you, and hopefully you will get a lot of value from this conversation. So Debbie, welcome. How are you today?
I am awesome. How are you?
Very good. Thank you so much for joining us as a speaker today here with us in Health Warriors. I was, as a nutrition coach and as a scientist, I've got a vast knowledge in nutrition science, but what I noticed that I don't actually know much about mindset and life coaching and all these kind of things. So this is why I started inviting guest speakers who are experts on these topics. And when I spoke to you, I was just like, oh, yes, this is it. My audience needs to hear what you have to say. So why don't you take us through, how did you actually start where you are right now? How did you start being a life coach? How did you get where you are right now with your business?
I started off back in November 2014. It was completely different back then. I was very much into esoteric as well. That's kind of the background, and I started doing psychic work as well as on to close contact, such as massage and Reiki. So I moved into that, and then a couple of years later, I realized that what I was more enjoyed and more important to me was mind. Our minds are all different. We're all programmed in different ways, and it absolutely fascinated me. And that's why I've kind of moved away of the close contact to the mind now, because like I said, so interesting to see people think and how people work and how we can use our own mind to help us, because sometimes we use it to hinder us, and I like just flip that switch and try and get it to help us more in our everyday life. So that's kind of how I've kind of moved over. I have like I work, so this is kind of what I'm going to talk about with you tonight.
This is wonderful. Thank you so much. So we do have a little bit of technical issues with the internet, and we're cutting off slightly, but that's okay because then it catches up. So we're all good. So talking about mind and mindset and all these things, I think that is incredibly important topic. And I always say transformation, no matter what kind of transformation, starts in your mind. It starts in your head, because there's no point in you just trying to change your health or trying to change your body or trying to change your job or the relationship, whatever you're trying to work on. There's no point to do it if you're not willing to change your mindset. Because what Einstein said, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different result. And it's exactly the same here. So with the same mindset that created the problems, we cannot solve them. So we need to start in our head, changing the mind first. So talking about obviously your business, can you take us a little bit through how do you actually work with people? What do you help them with? And could you give us some examples?
Okay, so I tend to find that a lot of people are trying to organize what they're thinking. A lot of people want to speak about their life purpose. They think that they think they don't know what their life purpose is, but then when you start asking them questions, they start revealing to themselves what it is they want to do. Very seldomly do I actually tell a person during the question that there's a lot of common denominators, and that's the biggest thing that come to me about. They think it's but what I do is I make them do the work, because I'm not their mind, they're in their own mind. So they just need to be guided through, get rid of all the fog where, and then get them down to the actual nitty gritty path. And it's just a series of small exercises I do with them. Very think I've got it now, but it's just a little walk through the mind, as it were. So that's the biggest thing people come to me about. But another one that a lot of people come to me about is journal therapy. I do a lot of journal therapy with people, and it's all about, again, I don't do the work. It's about people doing their own work. They deal with like situations that they cannot find answers, whether it's trauma, whether it's something that they're completely obsessed about and they can't get around it. It's about getting them to write on a topic. And the difference between a diary and a journal is that diaries are just it's like recording what you do in a day, like, for example, getting up, what time you got up, what you had for breakfast, who you met throughout the day. But a journal is about writing about a specific thought or a specific situation, and that gets, again, we can sometimes construct better when we write things down. And construct our thoughts in our mind just that little bit better. And then they're able to understand why they do what they do, or say what they say, or why they're maybe so obsessed with what they're obsessed with. So those are the main areas that people can work with me with.
That is incredible. I am just writing comments as notes to this conversation as well here, so people will know what we're talking about. So actually, what you mentioned, the journaling and going through the things yourself, obviously as a coach. Now, I am a coach, you are a coach, different topics, obviously, but that is very important to know that a coach will guide you, but you need to do the work. And this is why it's coaching. It's not, it's not doing it instead of you, but it's doing it for you so that you know how to do it yourself, if that makes sense. So we're basically here to guide people to find their own solutions, which sounds funny, but it's highly needed and effective at the same time. So talking about journaling, I mean, this topic has been coming up into my life lately so many times. So why journaling? What do you know anything about the science behind journaling? Because I've only briefly read about something. Why do you recommend people journaling, and how does that look like in an actual real life example?
So why journaling? The most scientific thing I can give you about journaling is that when we're talking about our emotions and feelings, sometimes we cannot construct, or we don't really know how we feel. Like, for example, with grief, we know we're grieving, we know we're upset, we know we feel lost, but how do we put that into words? How do we explain that? So when we're actually writing, we're actually having to think about it a little bit more, and it actually helps us to construct this within our mind, how exactly we're feeling. It helps in that area. And you're able, maybe not to the right words, but find the word that's relevant to yourself, the actual, what's actually happening within your mind. The other sort of part of your question there was about how to journal. There's loads of different ways to journal. Some people, they actually write big, full, complete sentences, pages and pages of how they feel. For other people, it's writing lists. So just as simple as 3 or 4, write about what the question could be, or a prompt, what made me happy today? And you could write loads and loads, or you could write, telephone call with friend. You could write that you did a PB you were running. You could write down that the piano that you've been practicing is now spot on. It could be absolutely sentences. There's no right or wrong way to journal. It's just about putting your thoughts onto paper, generally with some sort of prompt. So that's how you can kind of journal.
It's really good. I've tried, and it's not as trivial, right? So what you need to really do is develop this as a habit. You need to do it consistently. Now, consistently doesn't mean constantly. It doesn't mean every single day, but you need to do it consistently. So you need to pick the amount of times you're going to do it in a week, for example, and do it. And to be fair, it is a skill to be learned, like everything else in life. But what I've noticed is if I don't journal, that my thoughts are my own. They don't go out. I don't release it. And I start feeling anxious. I start feeling a bit like on edge. And I notice that my focus also goes away and all these kind of things. And I just lose this routine. So for me, it's just really a part of everyday life, and if I don't do it, I feel a bit lost. So yeah, it's got an incredible power. But just thinking, like, obviously we're talking about journaling and making us think about the emotions and dealing with situations and all that. Would you say that that could be equal to a cup of coffee with a friend? Sometimes you see those quotes and it's like, sometimes all you need is a cup of coffee with your best friend, and that's the best therapy you can get. Could you draw any parallels with that, or do you think that journaling draws even deeper into this?
I would say it's probably on a parallel. It may not be deeper, because when it comes to a very close friend, you could probably talk about those depths of emotion with a close friend as well. It depends on what type of relationship you have with this friend, what your relationship is. If it's just a fair weather friend or an acquaintance, then journaling is going to be much better. But if you're with a close friend, it will be on par with that. A close friend will also most likely reply to you as well, which a journal won't do. So if you're kind of a bit more shall we say, maybe just a little bit delicate with whatever emotion it is that you're wanting to try and reveal or discover, I would say that maybe journaling is a little bit better, because if you're not too sure, and maybe a friend would accidentally hurt your feelings, not in not deliberately, but just might say something that just catches you off guard, and you think, well, I never thought about that, but that really hurts. So a journal won't do that. So I think it depends on the person, the relationship you've got with that person, and also what it is you're trying to discover. If it's excitement, then obviously with a friend, you can raise that excitement even more within you. But if it is something like grief, then maybe once you've got your thoughts down on paper, once you know how you feel, where you are, then yes, speak with a friend about it if that's what you want to do.
Oh, this is lovely. Lots of really, really good thoughts and tips right here. I would like to now dive a little bit into your story. So, when we were speaking about it, you said that a title of our talk is going to be a story of bouncers and minions. So, why don't we start on that?
Yeah.
So, what does that mean?
It's a story that I've created for myself, that actually heals my physical body. That's what this is.
Okay.
Um, the what what I've come on to talk about today is about your mind healing the body. There's loads of examples. I will go through my one just now. Um, the the body or the mind doesn't know the difference with what is real and what is not real. That's
Mhm.
the big thing that you need to keep in mind here. There's loads of studies. I will go into that after I've given you how it's worked for me. But instead of I suffer from a rare autoimmune illness. Basically, the basics of it, instead of my skin renewing itself every 30 days, it can renew itself every 2 hours. And as you can imagine, plays absolute havoc with my system. It can play havoc with a lot of things within the body. And it can be that serious that you can be hospitalized, and it can go to your lungs and your heart. It can be quite a scary illness if it can really let loose. But because of that, I was put onto immunosuppressants. I had a bit of an episode with it a number of years ago, about 6 years ago, and I was hospitalized very, very quickly. And the doctors didn't really give me, my consultant, any other option than immunosuppressants. We'd gone from using steroid ointment and creams to straight to immunosuppressants, nothing else. There was no in between. Because it was affecting my body that badly. So after a couple of years, I realized that the immunosuppressants were literally killing me. I
Mhm.
was ending up in the hospital in A&E once a month because I
Oh,
had an
goodness.
infection. I literally would be all right. I'd wake up on a Saturday morning, all of a sudden feel like I've got a urine infection. It went straight to my kidneys within hours because I had literally no immune system. So
Terrible.
I'm fed up with this. I was getting fed up that my body just could not cope. I would take these tablets. Then you had to take other tablets to counter the the side effect immunosuppressants. So as soon as you take them, a couple of hours later, you start physically feeling sick. You're like that for about 24 hours until you start taking other tablets to help you make you feel better. So this went on for a couple of years, and it came to a head. And I basically told my consultant, I'm just absolutely not taking these tablets anymore. And they couldn't give me a reason to 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 not come off them. They basically told me this is not a good idea. You're going to go into remission. You will, you won't. You'll come out of
Mhm.
remission. It'll all start up again, and you will die from this. And
Mhm.
I didn't believe them, and I didn't want to believe them. And normally they take you off one a week, and so they decided to take me off one a month, because they were that nervous about me coming off them. During this time, I started following around is in pharmaceutical companies. He used to work for AstraZeneca, and then
Mhm.
he was more interested in the placebo effect than the actual than really what the tablets were actually doing. So,
Mhm.
and he found out that the what is real and what is not real. So what he says is to create a prescription for yourself,
Hmm.
but as a visualization within your own mind. and to do it a minimum of once a day. Well, so just as you would take tablets once a day, you then are doing this visualization. So you're doing your own medicine every single day now. And this is where my story comes in. And this is what my visualization is: a story of bouncers and minions. So my visualize, it is there's bouncers on these big doors, knocking the doors, just go and see my T cells, because they're the ones that I say, I need to go see my T cells. They're just like, yeah, come in. So they open up the big doors, these bouncers, and take me off to the T cells. Now, the T cells, I visualize them as minions. So this is where the more fun that you can make your visualization, the more you're going to enjoy it and the more you're going to believe it. So these T cells, I explain, hey, you guys are doing this wrong. And they all go, oh. And I then say to them, what you need to do is go round the blood system and then come back here again, and then just keep going round my circulatory system. You don't need to push up it out of this circulatory system. You just need to go round. And they all stand there and go in perfect unison, oh, the old ways. So they remember what the job they're supposed to do in my body. So at that point, one of them volunteers to go and do this. So then I visualize one of them going onto this sort of little raft, as it were, and then starts going around my immune system and paddling away around my immune system. And I visualize him going all the way around my circulatory system, around my body, down my legs, up my legs, arms, gets back to the immune system. And he says, oh, that one. And then they all get really excited. And then they all start lining up in their rafts, ready to go and do exactly the same thing. So this is my visualization. It's that effective. This visualization I do on a daily basis, it's that effective that I'm now completely off immunosuppressants, and I have never been back on them since. Not only that, I have never, I've not had another episode since of these, of what's called testicular psoriasis, which is basically, as I say, it's the T cell. It's basically the skin renewing itself every 2 hours. I don't have that anymore. So it's kind of righted itself. The doctors, my consultants, were they were a little bit taken aback by it, because they'd seen the evidence of me in the hospital, and they'd seen the evidence of everything going wrong with the immune system. Then all of a sudden I'm off the immunosuppressants. I've had no flare-up of this, and they can't explain it. And they can't explain how here we are in 2021, and I've not had any of this since in my body. They think they've misdiagnosed me. They think that maybe I had a stressful period in my life, and that's what had kicked it off or something. They have no answer. I know the answer. I've given myself this visualization to be able to heal my body, because my mind completely believes that this is true, to the point where my body now just doesn't need these immunosuppressants, doesn't need, the skin is absolutely fine. I'm cool. I'm feeling awesome. And, consultants are completely dumbfounded. So that's my story of bouncers and minions. And this is something that people can do themselves. They don't need any special training. So you think about if you have an illness or that you've got a problem with, and then create your own visualization. So I've got a few examples here, which you might want to take. So there was one lady who had cancer. It was breast cancer. So she had a lump in her breast, and before the actual operation, she did this visualization where she believed that buses came along and the lump started coming off bit by bit. So like minions, but little people, and they all went on this bus, and she believed that they were going on holiday, and when they actually came to the operation, she didn't have this lump anymore because her mind genuinely believed that this lump had gone. And so that was a huge thing, evidently, for her. Someone else who had a real problem with their eyesight, and this may be something I do because I wear glasses, is that she visualized that she stretched the muscles around her eyes, and she had little windscreen wipers within her irises, and the little windscreen wipers just cleaned her eyes. And within a year, she could actually see without glasses, which was the first time since she was a child, and she was in her 30s. So it's that, again, the mind's believing exactly what you're doing. The other big example I want to give, which is not a prescription, but how your mind actually believes what is going on. They did an experiment with a man. He was blindfolded. He was wearing shorts, and they said that they're going to take this hot bar. So they had this metal bar. They heated it up in front of him with the blindfolds off, and then they wanted to move that bar as close as they could to his body without. And he had to say when he felt the heat of the bar. And so that was the only bit of script that they gave him, was to tell them when they felt the heat of the bar. So they blindfolded him. They took that bar away, that hot away that he'd seen being heated up. They took a cold bar and they kept on putting it nearer and near his leg, and then finally said, "Oh, I think I feel the heat of it now." And it was quite close. And they deliberately touched his leg with this cold bar. Now, he freaked out, as you can imagine, because he thought he was being touched by this hot bar. They obviously apologized profusely, even though they knew it was a cold bar that touched him. They apologized absolutely profusely. Didn't mean to do it. So sorry. And within 15 minutes, his leg came up with blisters where that cold bar had been, because he genuinely believed he'd been touched by a hot bar. And that is the power of the mind. No physical thing had actually, no heat had touched his leg. It was all in his mind. And eventually, they actually showed him a video, because they videoed the recorder out, and showed him the video, and he was just like, "Wait, that didn't happen." They're just like, "Yes, it did." And that, people, is the power of the mind, because he genuinely thought he was being touched by a hot bar, and he was genuinely touched by a cold one. Now,
that is absolutely mind-blowing.
Mind is convincing. It will tell you lies.
Yes.
It's just, I know, it's just, there are so many examples of this happening. But I would say to people, just find out what works for you. Don't, if you're on medication, stay on that medication, and do these exercises, visualizations every single day. And then next time you're in for a medication review or something like that, you might find that you're starting to come down in dosage, because your brain, mind is actually physically changing your body. So it's a thought, it's a suggestion, but your mind can heal the body. And that is what my discussion with you this evening.
Love it. Love it. Honestly, I mean, I could, like, my brain was firing along while you were talking. I was like, "Ooh, and I know about this example and this example." And there's just so many examples of people who have miraculously recovered, or have cancer and then didn't have cancer, or had a chronic illness and then they didn't have it, and all these kind of things. So I myself, as a research scientist, established with PhD and all that, right? They teach you one side of the things when you go and study these things. Also, like medical doctors and all that, they teach them one side of the medicine or human health and all that. But there is so much more to it that is just mind-blowing. It's incredible. And mindset, power of the mind is one of the biggest topics that people neglect on a daily basis. They actually neglect it. Every time I speak to my clients, I always say that we need to start working with habits for the mind. And then through that, we also work on the habits for the body. And with good nutrition and with good habits for the mind, the results, I kid you not, they come within days. People are like, I can't believe I've got so much more energy and it's only day 3. And I'm like, yes, because what we've done was we cut the circulation where you were thinking just, oh no, yeah, another day. Oh, I need to do. Oh, it's like we cut this away, and we're like, oh, I get to do this. I get to have an amazing, healthy breakfast. I get to exercise. All these things, and then it just rewires, and a person just starts feeling amazing. And what you're doing is absolutely fantastic. I feel like a lot of people need to hear your message and your story, because we are surrounded. Actually, I've done a video on this today on Instagram. We're surrounded daily by negativity. Even the news on the TV, they're all focused to show us the negative aspects of what's happening in the world. But there's very little positive shown around. I mean, the world isn't just the negative. We've got so much positive that is happening. Despite the situation worldwide right now, there is so many amazing positive things, but no one speaks about them. And of course, then people's minds are going to go towards negative. And I feel like because of this constant negative feed, there's also increase in mental health problems. Not, yes, because of the isolation and other problems, but I think that is a big contributing factor as well. So I always say, feed your mind with good stuff, because your mind is what is going to determine how you're going to move forward. So, oh my God, I think I feel like I could have hours and hours of conversation with you on that topic. It's just incredible. So
there's one more thing.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, well, there's one more thing, and it's about the mind and appetite. So if you, so they did this as a control group experiment as well. So they told people they had 3 groups. One who didn't do anything, because you've got to have a control group that doesn't do anything. You had another group that they had to visualize eating 6 M&Ms. So they had to visualize. So they would visualize picking up the M&M, putting it in the mouth, and eating the M&M, and pretending to it. So they did that with 6, and then there was a third group which they did it with 50 M&Ms. So it was obviously they were with them a lot longer, because they were visualizing, 1 M&M, chew it, and then swallow it. A second one. So they did that 50 times with them. And then they actually took them all into a room afterwards with M&Ms. And the people who visualized eating the most M&Ms had the least M&Ms, the actual least M&Ms that were actually in that room. So it's again that the mind thought that what we're talking about, that the mind controls the body. It obviously told these people's bodies, hey, you've eaten a lot of M&Ms anyway. You can still have another 1 or 2, but you've eaten a lot of M&Ms anyway. And the ones who had 5, they kind of had roughly about the same amount as the people who didn't visualize at all. So if you're feeling hungry for M&Ms or any sort of food, visualize eating it first. And then when you actually get to it, the physical product itself, you'll probably eat less. So that was my one last thing with appetite, food, and the mind.
Wonderful. I love it. So before we leave, do you maybe have any top tips for the audience? This is like a Health Warriors group, so we're all about combating health issues in any way that could help an individual. Do you have any top tips for the audience before we leave?
I think that's difficult, because everybody's different, and everybody has a different sort of thing that they want to maybe improve on, or within their health, or if they've got an illness. But my big thing is eat as natural as possible, organic if you can. because there's less pesticides in it. Drink as much water as you can. Water is a good thing. And if you can use herbs at all, and I mean, 'cause I do a lot of herbology work, if you can use herbs at all to help you heal your body, head that direction first. Before you start, I know that a lot of medication is based on herb medicine, but they also manipulate it as well and put in added stuff. So I would say head down the herbal route first if you can. Those are my tips.
I fully support all that. I keep preaching that actually 70% of illnesses are nutrition related, hence through our gut and all that. So, and hence preventable. So what you just said exactly goes into this. So through herbs, micronutrients, macronutrients that our body does need and people don't get because they're living the microwave life nowadays, we get to promote our immune system function. We get to promote certain processes within cells that need to happen, but now they're not happening, and thus developing problems within the body. So I fully support, like, drink your water, herbal teas, herbal supplements, whatever you can get from highly quality sources. Please do check the sources before you actually ingest things, because there's a lot of things out there, Holland and Barrett, but I am not vouching for the quality there. So make sure that you check before you start putting something into your body, and just live a whole life. Please be healthy. Try and de-stress, journal, put your thoughts on the journal, and think yourself healthy. I like that. Think yourself healthy. That's a good one. Thank you so much, Debbie. You've been absolutely brilliant. Such a pleasure to have you as my guest. If the audience wants to find you, where can they find you?
They can find me at web address loveandabove.co.uk.
Beautiful. So after we're finished with this live, just drop the links as well in the group, or give them to me and I'll pop it into the description of this video. And then whoever wants to get in touch with Debbie, please do. She is a lovely, lovely person. We've had a conversation before this video as well. I was just like, we could just talk about this topic all the time. It's like incredible. So thank you again for joining me. Have a fantastic rest of the Monday, and let's go smash this March, shall we? Have a good evening, everyone.
Absolutely. Bye.